Shakti fully awakens on all three levels, does it have a relationship, or is it the same as awakening of Atman?
Does it have a relationship?
Or is it the same? Atman meaning soul.
Even coiled Kundalini is Atman.
So, a full awakening of Shakti is awakening of the soul.
Yeah, we could say that.
Yes.
It's a maturation of the soul.
Something dormant.
Something dormant, something in potentiality, right?
Yeah.
What is dormancy? Something dormant, which means it has potential. It has room to grow. It has potential to open.
It's just it's also abstract. Words are used interchangeably. It is beautiful to call her the soul. Atman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kundalini is the soul. It is Shakti expresses itself as individual soul. Hence, this is why I've mentioned that, the para, chit, Kundalini. Para Shakti, chit Shakti, Kundalini Shakti.
And we come to Ananda, which is the utmost beauty. And she's so beautiful when she's present and awakened.
Yes, it is. It is. There is this very strange tendency to dismiss that what is known as, let's say, science of awakening, the anatomy of the spirit, as just kind of cultural phenomena. That the whole science of Kundalini is very often dismissed. I mean, I've heard some really bizarre, even the teachers, very, very respectable teachers, calling it, like spiritual kanji or child's play and what have you. And some even say that, you don't need to, you can just go to God straight, like, And to me, it's like saying that you can breathe through your ears, or, like everything moves through passages on a physiological level and on a subtle level. And Kundalini, or the science of Kundalini, is that where consciousness moves in this body through subtle channels. Nadis, This whole body, just as it's like, if you look at this body through certain like X-ray, what have you, you see all the vessels, you see all the veins, you see all the skeletal structure. In the same way, there is a spiritual anatomy, subtle anatomy within, with tremendous network of channels, subtle channels. And these channels is where prana moves, this is where that awakened consciousness moves. It moves through this, and that's what sustains this physiological plane at all times, regardless, dormant, awakened, fully risen, integrated, doesn't matter. It's always Shakti. All there is Shakti.
And it's beautiful that you're reminded that Shiva becomes Shakti to experience himself.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very conscious act. And you want to add something? Because there's one gentleman in the back. And I'm with you. It is. I mean, to me, it's beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than that. Absolutely. This is.
And when the senses awaken,
when the senses awaken, this is exactly when the refinement of perception, this is what we call...
The gates too?
Absolutely, yeah. That which is there, set to limit, then becomes the very, very channels and the instrumentality to gives us the fullness of this experience of ever expanding consciousness.
When you hear the sound for the first time, hear it, but taste.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no, the gentleman I think fell asleep. No, you wanted to ask a question?
I think it's kind of...
Sorry,
addressed
it was before.
The earlier question about the nature of Nanda and painful experiences. I was wondering if you might comment on how that relates to love, because what came to mind for me was this Mother Teresa quote where she says, I found the paradox that when you love to the point that it's painful, it's no longer painful, there's only more love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful, very beautiful and very appropriate, and directly relate to what we've been discussing earlier, completely. Well, that what we've been speaking about today, in this past, just under a couple of hours, that Sat Chit Ananda, the ground of consciousness, but it expresses itself as love at all times. It expresses itself as love at absolutely all times. And everything is in the name of love. One could take that very, very different approach, let's say. That approach which in itself gives rise to that very exquisite form of worship. And every tradition has at its core that approach. Christianity has that, Buddhism has that. And the inner core of Islam, Sufism has that. I felt that was more like your addition rather than question, so